December 12th, 2014. And this is the second video for this day or evening regarding the Ballingers and who they were connected to, and with regard to coordinated government rapes of me. So this Brian that Christy knew, she actually later in high school, she had a friend named Brian that she hung out with a lot. And she hung out with a guy named Ryan Contreras, who actually, I believe that he died. And I'm not quite sure if he died or if his brother died. But I think it was him. I think Ryan Contreras actually died. And he ended up getting into the military and went to the same high school that Christy went to. She went to Sherwood High School. And then, anyway, he died while serving in the Marines, as far as I know. And, but the other Brian that she knew and referred to as this Brian Haines. And I think that, again, it was like this Janet Bechtolds kind of government circle that they just all happened to be in. He was like a very outdoorsy type of a kid, liked to be riding his bikes, playing sports. That's how things were over in that area. Survival games, that kind of thing. And that's what the Bechtolds were into, and a whole other group that they had out there. But they all knew each other. And I mentioned Brian Haines because he also factored into some of the rape of me. Although at the time, for the longest time, I didn't consider it to be rape because I didn't remember him being connected to all these people who had programmed me and trained me to accept certain triggers and codes for raping me. And I didn't remember some of the torture that Brian Haynes' family committed against me, because his dad viciously electrocuted me with the electrocution box. And that was after I was forced to give someone a blowjob, and I don't remember even who it was, actually. I got raped and was forced to give one or more men out there at Brian Haynes' property around there a blowjob, and there were a bunch of guys out there. And then after they did that to me, they used the electrocution box. And often when that box was being used, it was to try to scramble up my memory so that I couldn't retain a firm impression or memory of what they'd just done to me. But so then later he ended up stalking me out too. And I didn't recognize him at all at the time, or think about the idea that, you know, somebody's going to start working at this place right next to where I live, just for the purpose of trying to get up close to me. And the individuals that he got the job from were friends of the Bechtolds family. And he got that job through at a gas station. And Robin Bechtold worked at the same gas station. Had worked at the same gas station earlier. Although I don't think the gas station is to blame. I think that it was more of the some of the Irish guys that were working there that maybe pulled Brian into that station when I lived like about a block away after I moved to a location like Oswego. And so then this other person who the government had coordinated to show up and target me was named Richard, and he was very young when I first met him. He was really young. He was this little kid, and never in a million years would I ever think that his mom or his family would bring their little boy around me with some kind of a ulterior motive to later have him grow up and be part of this government gang rape group. But they really wanted to trash me. I mean, they wanted to discredit me every way that they could, and I think they really wanted me to look cheap and like I was a liar, and really to just degrade me. I mean, they hated my guts. I mean, people don't coordinate things like that unless they hate you. And this was like, these kids were growing up with their parents having committed serious crimes against kids. And, when you have a kid that, loves their parents and feels protective of them, some of them were just kind of they were allowing themselves to get swept up in the idea of, this is someone my family hates and has hated for a long time and has tortured, and we're going to keep this going. And it was working out for them because all the cops and FBI were on their side, and they'd been coordinating it, and I'm very sure they were paying a lot of these people to do these things under the table and through different kinds of promotions and perks. And so this one guy, Richard, was just really little, and I'm not sure that his sister was there. Maybe she was there one time but not the other time. But his mom was a tax accountant, and that's what she was doing decades later. She was working at H&R Block. She's supposedly Jewish, and she was showing up with him at Sandy Ballinger's house, at this place where she had her own kind of like hair salon in her house, with a chair that they used to have me practice, where they had guys come in, and then from the chair they were telling me to give blowjobs and that kind of thing, and torturing me. And I really don't know why Richard's mom, this Jewish woman, hated me so much, but I still remember the way she stared at me. I do know that I think it had something to do with Katie Middleton, because there were, all of these horrible things were happening to me before she was born. That's true, but a few of these Jewish people who came into it, they acted really extremely violently, viciously defensive about Kate Middleton, and anything they could do to make me look bad was something they felt was going to work in the Middletons' favor. And like I said, I had dirt on the Middletons because I was trafficked over there before they ever had Katie, and before all these people had some big plan for what they wanted to do with Katie's life, and how they were all going to generate some of energy off of their initial investments from that. But anyway, I just remember she stared at me, and I thought, wow, she really, really hates me. She's staring at me like she can't stand me, and I don't even really know what I did to her and why she hates me this much. But so I was kind of confused, because I did remember she was a tax accountant. I remembered she was Jewish, and she had this little boy named Richard, who was very shy and quiet, didn't say hardly anything. And she stood there and threatened me and cursed me and told me all these horrible things that they were going to do to me and that were going to happen to me. And then, sure enough, a couple decades later, pretty sick, but these government individuals had him also show up to rape me and to take advantage of a situation that they had all jointly set up when I was a young adult. And it's going to, I think, not going to be very concise to try to explain. At least I got through a few of these names and how some of them knew Ballingers when I was younger. But then going to the part of like how they then introduced these individuals later in my life, the sons that had been kids earlier, is going to be hard to really make super concise, but I'll do the best I can. And before I finish with this specific video, because I have a few minutes left on it, according to time limits for posting this on YouTube. Another individual that the Ballingers, that Lonnie Ballinger and Erica Ballinger knew, who I met over at Lonnie Ballinger's house, or a place connected to her, was Alvaro Pardo, who got later introduced to me in the DC area. And he took me to his brother-in-law or cousin-in-law's wife's house, where I had once gone along when I was very young. I had been taken to there as well. And he wanted to have, they had this giant Santa as a decoration for Christmas, standing at the foot of a staircase. And he wanted to get a photo of me and him standing next to the Santa. Like huge, like kind of life-size Santa, like fake one. Well, Lonnie Ballinger and the Ballingers had me posing with them, including with Eric Ballinger and Christy and a few of the others. Had me posing, and some of these men that they knew, government men, they had me standing there next to the exact same kind of Santa, positioned at the bottom of a staircase, and had a series of photos of me taken there. And that's when I was a kid. And then, fast forward a couple decades later, I'm getting raped by their friend Alvaro Pardo, too, who told me and admitted that he worked for the FBI. And so that's another person that they knew when I was younger. And then another individual that I met over in that area later was Chris Dabney. And Christy and Lonnie seemed to know Chris Dabney. And I believe that it was Dabney. Of course, there could be a lot of different Christophers and Chris's, but what I remember is that it was Chris Dabney. At one time, for a very short time, actually, when he was younger, I don't really know what was going on, but he visited our house and was just like watching till my mom was babysitting him, or he was just hanging out there for a short time. He's much younger than me, but he was at our house. And then and that was in Washington State. And then he was also in a drive-in kind of a government kids kind of school, like summer school thing that the government had set up and used to hone government kids' radars on